Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. In this episode, I want to talk about the possible crash of the video game scene, specifically with indies, and why I feel like it's happening sooner than we think. And this one's going to be a little bit more of a conversational style discussion where I just throw my thoughts out there because I want to get what you're feeling about this as well. JT. So I just finished live streaming the latest Nindies Direct for summer 2018, and to put it mildly, I was fairly underwhelmed. I'd said on the live stream I gave it a 4 out of 10, being just a bit below average. It wasn't terrible by any means, but there was nothing coming out of it that completely blew me away. And going into this, I was expecting that these would be more new IPs, games we never heard of before, and things that really caught our attention and do things differently. And it just seemed like the same old 8-bit, 16-bit, tried-and-true indie graphics on games with similar points and plots on how you're supposed to go about things, and nothing that really blew my mind. And before I start sounding like I'm coming off completely overly negative about this, the reason why things weren't blowing my mind is because there are so many incredible indie games already on the scene on the Nintendo eShop. And if people have taken a look at what's out there already, Golf Story or 20XX or Stardew Valley, SteamWorld Dig 2, Night in the Woods, Wolverblade, Owlboy, Thimbleweed Park, Thumper, Portal Knights, West of Loathing, Shovel Knight. This is just a small sample size of incredible games on the Nintendo eShop already. And there's a good chance that most of you watching this video have not played every single one of those games. And many people might hear that and say, well, yeah, because that game doesn't really appeal to me, or it's not my style. You need to play it even if you don't think those games will appeal to you, because they're great games. And part of the reason why I'm making this video is to talk about the impending doom facing the indie game market, where have they possibly run out of ideas? Have the games become so generic that everything that could have been done in the past has been done one way or another? Kind of reminding me of that scene in The Truman Show where he says to the teacher he wants to be an explorer, and she responds with, "You're too late, everything's already been discovered." That's kind of what the eShop feels like right now. It's every game is out there that I ever wanted to play, and now we're getting more games that look exactly like these old games that many people have not had the chance to play all the way through. And with those older games, typically they come at a cheaper price point, they go on sale more often, and they're tried and true, proven, good quality games that have been reviewed across the board by tons of people saying you need to play these games. So I don't see why people would want to spend full price on a new indie game when they look and play and basically are the same, if not maybe a bit worse than the games that are already existing that you haven't already played. And while I was talking in the live stream, I was saying maybe this is the crash, maybe this is the end of the indie game scene. Starting right now, you can see the cliff and we're driving off it, and it's faster than we ever thought this would exponentially reach to this point. And then people are arguing it's not going to be a crash, it's going to be a market correction where it's going to just slow down and going to bring everything back to a level playing field, and the games will slow down, the slight drip of what games are coming out will change because it's not going to be all these tons of games coming out and no one's going to know what to play. And I can see where they're coming from on that standpoint, but at the same time I say, what's going to prove to someone that they should spend full price on a new game when these old games are already existing at a discount most of the time with sales because they've been out for a while and they're already awesome games that you definitely want to get to that are in your backlog? What are these new games going to do to present you with something so great, a buying proposition that you just have to get the game and put it in front of something that's on your back burner that you've been waiting to get to? This is why during the live stream I actually proposed what Nintendo may do and other game companies who also deal with indies will do in the future to curb this issue. And I don't endorse it, but I could totally see this happening. You know how Disney handles their old movies and they only sell them for a certain amount of time and they lock them away in their vault for a while until they decide they can bring it back out again? I can kind of see that happening with indie games. If people had a finite amount of time to purchase the game and knowing that it would go away for a long period of time if they didn't buy it during that time frame, they'd be more apt to jump at the newer games, which would cause the market to continue to flow with new games, while eliminating a backlog of games that you wouldn't have access to because they're download only. It's not like a lot of these games are physical copies. I mean, yeah, sure, you got limited run doing a few of them, but I could see download codes almost being a finite amount of time that they're available. Kind of like what happened with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Xbox Live, but that was more of a licensing issue. It also, I believe, happened with the Simpsons arcade game. A lot of these download titles were available for a period of time, and then licensing issues removed them from the shop. But what happens if the approach to assist new games coming out, Nintendo makes a decision saying, in order to clean up our eShop, because it's a mess, let's be honest, there is zero filtering, zero organization involved on the eShop, until maybe version 6.0 comes out, and maybe there'll be some sort of organization there, but even still, there are just too many games to try to organize properly. What if Nintendo makes an executive decision and says, these games are no longer going to be available after 6 months of being on sale, or after 12 months of being on sale, and they may appear someday down the road in the future for you to purchase again, but if you want them now, you better get on it. I don't necessarily endorse this, like I said, but I could totally see Nintendo doing that, if for nothing else, to set some sort of organization on the eShop and give motivation for people to actually buy these games right away when they come out, to make sure that they have a chance to own it before it goes away for a long time. It's a way to manufacture some sort of market demand for a game, a download code that, let's be honest, it has an infinite amount of them. For me personally, I've been getting a lot of game codes from a ton of indie developers, and I'm trying my best to stay on top of playing each one of these and planning on bringing you mini reviews, which you saw in my previous video, of telling you why I think you should play it or not play it, what I think about it, and moving on to the next one, because there are great games. You should check them out. But there are so many great games already out there, I just worry about what the future holds. What more can they do with the indie scene? A lot of these games, the 8-bit and 16-bit graphics, the character you control is so small, and the motions and movements that they have are so hard to see that they all blend together, and I'm not really sure what would sell you on one of these games where I can't even remember the name of it because it didn't stand out to me enough to play over a game that's already available. And a part of why I was looking forward to this Nindies Direct over the other ones is it was kind of advertised as bringing more IPs of games that didn't exist before, you didn't know about before, coming to the scene and maybe changing your perception of what to expect from the indie game market in general. And watching this Nindies Direct and seeing the actual games presented, there was an Untitled Goose Game that I could have sworn I already saw in a previous Nindies Direct. They talked about Into the Breach, brought to us by the creators of Faster Than Light, FTL. That's already available on Steam. It's a great game, I'm sure. But it's already available. That's not new. It's new to the Switch, but like many games in this Nindies Direct, they're already available on other platforms. So saying that these are original IPs coming to the Nintendo Switch, I feel like that was a little bit misleading and maybe set my expectations out of whack going into it. But even when I removed my bias of those expectations, it still was underwhelming to me. But maybe I'm going crazy here. The reason why I want to make this video is to start a discussion, to find out how you felt about that Nindies Direct, and more importantly, how do you feel about the direction of the indie game scene completely altogether? Do you feel like it's going to crash? Do you feel like there's a market correction coming soon? Do you feel like these games can keep coming at the rate they're coming at and people will keep buying them because it's a new game and it's shiny because it's new? I don't know. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Let me know down below, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.